Have you ever caught yourself feeling unusually distant from the person you've shared most of your life with? It doesn't mean you've fallen out of love, and it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. But after 70, something changes. Not loudly, not overnight, but slowly. You begin noticing little things, irritations that didn't bother you before. A strange silence in conversations that used to flow easily. A subtle sadness when you sit across from each other and wonder why it doesn't feel the same. This isn't about conflict or crisis. It's about quiet emotional shifts we rarely name. And in this video, we're going to explore 8 deep yet often unnoticed reasons why longtime partners begin to emotionally drift after 70. And more importantly, how to understand these shifts with compassion, insight, and maybe even a renewed sense of connection. Because the truth is, many people carry these feelings in silence, but once you recognize them, you're no longer alone with them. Stay with me to the end. Something in this might help you reconnect not only with your partner, but with yourself. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell. We're building a space where aging is talked about with honesty, warmth, and respect. You're always welcome here. Reason 1. The quiet weight of changing roles. As we move into the later stages of life, our roles, the ones we've played for decades, begin to shift. Maybe you were the provider, the nurturer, the fixer, the peacemaker. But what happens when life no longer requires those roles in the same way? Some people adapt easily, others struggle. What once gave you purpose might now feel unnecessary, and if your partner hasn't noticed this internal shift, you may begin to feel invisible, or worse, taken for granted. Margaret, 75, once said, "He used to thank me for everything I did. Now it's like I'm just furniture in the room." It's not usually about gratitude, it's about identity. When your role changes and no one sees it, a quiet frustration begins to brew. But awareness can change everything. Ask your partner, how has your role changed over the years? You might be surprised how much they've been carrying, quietly. Reason 2. Unspoken grief in everyday life. After 70, grief becomes a quiet companion, not just from loss of loved ones, though that's often true, but grief over things we rarely name, fading energy, missed dreams, even the loss of who we used to be. This unspoken grief doesn't always look like tears. Sometimes it shows up as irritability, withdrawal, a short temper over something small. And when both partners are carrying their own versions of grief, the home can begin to feel emotionally heavy, even when nothing big is happening. It's easy to mistake your partner's mood for coldness, but more often it's the quiet ache of something they've never felt allowed to grieve. One powerful question can open the door. Is there something you feel like you've lost lately? Sometimes just naming it is the beginning of healing. Reason 3. Intimacy evolves, but we don't always know how to follow. Intimacy after 70 doesn't look like it did at 30 or 50. It softens, deepens, becomes quieter, but no less important. Physical closeness might shift. Touch may become less frequent, but the need to feel emotionally close, seen, held, valued, only grows stronger. The challenge is, many couples don't talk about these changes, and when intimacy fades without being replaced by something new, resentment begins to form. Harold, 78, shared this. "I miss her touch. Not sexually, just a hand on my shoulder once in a while. It used to mean everything." We often think intimacy fades because of age, but more often, it fades because no one taught us how to nurture it differently as we age. Try this tonight. Sit beside your partner in silence. No TV, no phones, just quiet presence. Sometimes the most intimate moments aren't spoken, they're felt. Reason 4. Living together but separately. When we retire, we imagine having more time together, but what often happens is something quietly ironic. We end up living parallel lives. One person reads in the living room, the other watches television in the bedroom. Meals are eaten at different times. Conversations grow shallow. It's not from lack of love. It's just habit. But over time, this coexistence can feel like emotional isolation. And unless it's interrupted intentionally, you might wake up one day and wonder where the connection went. Evelyn, 74, said, "We talk every day, but we haven't really spoken in years." Schedule a weekly ritual, not just chores or errands, something like a walk, a cup of coffee on the porch, or even looking at old photos together. It's these small acts that keep togetherness alive. Reason 5. Emotional backlogs. Words. We never said one of the most common causes of late-life resentment isn't what's happening now. It's what never got talked about in the past. Years of swallowing hurt, avoiding conflict, letting things slide for the sake of peace. It's noble, until it isn't, because every unsaid feeling stacks on top of the last, until even the smallest disagreement triggers something bigger. George, 80, once said, "I never told her how much it hurt when she dismissed my business idea. That was 40 years ago, and I still think about it." Old pain doesn't vanish, it hides. But the good news is, it can still be healed. You don't need to revisit every wound, but even a single conversation that begins with, "There's something I've held on to and I want to release it now," can change everything. Reason 6. Different clocks, different paces after 70. Time feels different. Some feel urgency, a drive to travel, try new things, make every moment count. Others feel the opposite, a desire to slow down, simplify, rest. When two people operate on different internal clocks, conflict often arises. One feels dragged, the other feels left behind. But underneath that tension, fear. Fear of wasting time, fear of running out, fear of being left behind emotionally or physically. Sylvia, 73, told me, "He wants to go everywhere. I just want to be still." We keep arguing, but really, we're both just scared. Talk about your relationship with time. What do you feel like you need more of in this season? Excitement or peace? Both are valid, but only when shared do they make space for compromise. Reason 7. The disappearing curiosity. In the early years, everything was new. You asked questions, you listened deeply, but somewhere along the way, familiarity replaced curiosity. And without curiosity, love loses its language. It's easy to assume you know your partner, but people don't stop growing at 70. They don't stop wondering, hurting, dreaming. Ask your partner something you've never asked before. What's something you still hope to experience? What surprised you this week? These questions reopen doors and remind both of you there's still more to discover. Reason 8. We stop telling each other. We matter. The biggest danger in long relationships isn't arguing, it's apathy. When we stop affirming each other, noticing each other, thanking each other. Not because we don't feel it, but because we assume it's understood. But after 70, there's something deeply healing about being told, "I still appreciate you. I'm proud of you. I wouldn't want to go through this part of life with anyone else." These words may seem small, but they carry the weight of decades. Speak them out loud and speak them often. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you. It means you care, not just about your relationship, but about growing through this season of life with intention and love. If any of these insights resonated, let me know in the comments by writing "still growing," because that's what we're doing here together. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. We release thoughtful content every week, dedicated to aging with grace, insight, and connection. You are not alone on this path, and we're honored to walk beside you.